Two failing men, a stockbroker who couldn't stay sober and a doctor who couldn't stop drinking, met for one conversation in Akron, Ohio, and a fellowship of millions was born. This is the foreword to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous's Big Book of a Big Book. Since the original foreword to this book was written in 1939, a wholesale miracle has taken place. Our earliest printed voiced that every alcoholic who journeys will find the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous at his destination. Already, continues the earliest text, twos and threes and fives of them have sprung up in other communities. 16 years have elapsed between our first printing of this book and the presentation in 1955 at our second edition. In that brief space, Alcoholics Anonymous has mushroomed into 6,000 groups whose membership is far above 150,000 recovered alcoholics. Groups are being found in each of the United States and all of the provinces of Canada. AA uh, has flourishing communities in the British Isles, Scandinavian countries, South Africa, South America, Mexico, Alaska, Australia, and Hawaii. All told, promising beginnings have been made in some 50 foreign countries and U.S. possessions. Some of these just now taking shape in Asia. Many of our friends encourage us by saying this is but a beginning, only the augury of a much larger future ahead. The spark that was to flare the first group was struck in Akron, Ohio in June 1935 during a talk between a New York stockbroker and an Akron physician. 6 months later, the broker had been relieved of his drink obsession by sudden spiritual experience following a meeting with an alcoholic friend who had been in contact with the Oxford groups of that day. He had also been greatly helped by the late Dr. William D. Silkworth, a New York specialist in alcoholism who is now accounted no less than a medical state by AA members, and whose story of the early days of our society appears in the next pages. From this doctor, the broker has learned the grave nature of alcoholism. Though he could not accept all the tenets of the Oxford group, he was convinced of the need of moral inventory, confession of personality defects, restitution to those harms, helpful to others, and the necessity of belief in and dependence on God. Prior to his journey to Akron, the broker had worked hard with many alcoholics on the theory that an alcoholic could help an alcoholic, but he had only been successful in keeping himself sober. The broker had gone to Akron on a business venture which collapsed, leaving him greatly in fear that he might start drinking again. He suddenly realized that in order to save himself, he must carry his message to another alcoholic. That alcoholic turned out to be the Akron physician. This physician had repeatedly tried spiritual means to resolve his alcoholic dilemma, but failed. But when the broker gave him Dr. Riff Silkworth's description of alcoholism and its hopelessness, the physician began to pursue the spiritual remedy for his malady with a willingness he had never before been able to muster. He sobered, whether to drink again up the moment and never to drink again up to the moment of his death in 1959. This seemed to prove that one alcoholic could affect another like no other non-alcoholic could. This indicated that strenuous work, one alcoholic to another, was vital to permanent recovery. Hence, the two men almost went to work almost frantically upon the alcoholics arriving at the ward in the Akron City Hospital. Their very first case, a desperate one, recovered immediately and became alcoholic number 3. He never had another drink. This work at Akron continued through the summer of 1935. There were many failures, but there was an occasional heartening success. When the broker returned to New York in the fall of 1935, the first AA group had actually been formed, though no one realized it at the time. A second small group promptly took shape in New York, followed in 1937 by the start of a third in Cleveland. Besides these, there were scattered alcoholics who had been picked up the basic tenets in Akron and New York, and who were trying to form groups in other cities. By 1937, the number of members having substantial sobriety time behind them was sufficient to convince membership that a new light had entered the dark world of the alcoholic. It was now time the struggling groups thought that their message and unique experience before the world. This determination bore fruit in the spring of 1939 with the publication of this volume. The membership had reached about 100 men and women. The fledgling society had been nameless, now began to call itself Alcoholics Anonymous, from the title of its own book. The flying blind period had ended, and AA entered a new phase of pioneering time. With the appearance of the new book, and a great deal began to happen. Dr. Harry Emerson Fosdick, the noted clergyman, reviewed it with approval. In the fall of 1939, Fulton Obser, the then editor of Liberty, printed a piece in his magazine called Alcoholics and God. This brought a rush of 800 frantic inquiries into the New York office, which meanwhile had been established. Each inquiry was painstakingly answered. Pamphlets and books were sent out. Businessmen, usually one out of reading groups, were nestmen, traveling out of existing groups, and were referred to these prospective newcomers. New groups started up, and it was found, to the astonishment of everyone, that AA's message could be transmitted in mail as well by mouth. By the end of 1935, it was estimated that 800 alcoholics were on their way to recovery. So here's some summary. Written in 1955, The Foreword to the Second Edition opens by marveling growth from a handful of scattered alcoholics in 1935 to nearly 6,000 groups and more than 150 million by 1955, spread across the U.S., Canada, and roughly 50 countries. It then tells the following story. In June 1935, a stockbroker, sober for 6 months, a sudden spiritual through a sudden spiritual experience, traveled to Akron, Ohio, on a business venture that collapsed. Fearing that he might drink again, he sought out another alcoholic to help. That alcoholic was an Akron physician who had tried and failed at spiritual solutions before. Their meeting proved to be that one alcoholic could reach another as no doctor or clergyman could, and their work with suffering alcoholics at an Akron City hospital produced the first AA group that summer, followed by groups in New York and Cleveland. By 1939, a fellowship, now of around 100 strong, published in this book, took its name from it. National attention, a magazine article, a dinner hosted by John D. Rockefeller, and a Saturday Evening Post feature drove membership from hundreds into thousands within a few years. This section closes on a hard question that rapid growth raised. Could so many strong-willed recovering alcoholics work together without splintering apart, or would they have to unify in order to survive? Reflection for you. What single conversation or conversations with another person mark the real beginning of your own recovery? And who might be waiting for you to make the same call today?